Have you ever wondered, amidst the hustle and bustle of modern life, what truly holds value? Is it wealth, fame, or fleeting relationships that pass by like the wind? Confucius, the great sage of humanity, left behind teachings that have endured for thousands of years, shining like a guiding torch to lead us out of confusion. Once said, "Whenever anger arises, think about the consequences." This simple yet profound statement contains an ocean of wisdom, helping us maintain inner peace and preserve the most precious values in life. Today, let's revisit these philosophies' golden words that not only help us live more meaningful lives, but also pave the way to peace amidst chaos. These teachings are not distant ideals. They are practical lessons on how we treat ourselves, our parents, and our loved ones. Let us turn these reflections into actions, leading us toward a life worth living. Part 1. To succeed, first balance your inner self. Life is an endless flow of joy, sorrow, success, failure, and unexpected turns that can leave us disoriented. In this journey, some people glide through lightly like the breeze, while others struggle endlessly at crossroads. But Confucius pointed out a clear path. To reach the shore of peace, one must first learn to balance their inner self. Each of his teachings is not lofty theory, but a guiding principle for every small step we take on the journey of life. Mastering emotional control. Whenever anger arises, think about the consequences. Seemingly simple phrase, but containing immense power to help people escape the vortex of negative emotions. In moments of anger, we often make wrong decisions, say hurtful words, and destroy everything we've built. Maintaining calmness, knowing when to pause and think before acting, is the way to preserve relationships and protect oneself. Confucius reminds us, restraint is not weakness, but the true strength of those who master themselves. Living with sincerity and passion. Wherever you go, go with all your heart. A sincere heart always brings great strength. It not only helps us live more meaningfully, but also spreads positive values to those around us. If you work with a passionate heart, every day becomes a joy. If you love sincerely, every relationship will grow stronger. The heart guides reason so that we don't just live for goals, but also for humanistic values and true happiness for ourselves and those we love. Finding beauty in small things. Everything has beauty, but not everyone sees it. This world, whether complex or simple, always holds beautiful things waiting for us to discover. It could be the morning sunlight, a sincere greeting, or simply a moment sitting with family. Don't let sadness or pressure overshadow the present beauty. Confucius teaches that the wise are not those who possess many things, but those who cherish what they have. Conquering yourself. The greatest enemy of a person is not someone else, but themselves. Fears, unchecked ambitions, or negative emotions are the biggest barriers preventing us from moving forward. When you learn to control yourself, you take charge of your life. You no longer get swept up by superficial things or controlled by emotions, but instead face challenges confidently. Seeking wisdom through learning. By 3 methods, we may acquire wisdom: reflection, imitation, and experience. Reflection helps us uncover truths within ourselves. Imitation is the easiest way to learn from those who came before, but experience is the deepest method. Though bitter, it brings lasting value. Confucius did not teach us to avoid difficulties, but encouraged everyone to face challenges, because it is in those moments that we learn the greatest lessons about growth. Acting with compassion. Do not do unto others what you do not want done to yourself. This is not just advice, but a fundamental principle for building a harmonious society. When you put yourself in others' shoes, you learn to love, empathize, and treat others kindly. Always remember that your actions not only affect yourself, but also have a significant impact on those around you. Throughout his life, Confucius tirelessly strove to live according to what he taught. A memorable story recounts that during a journey through a distant land, Confucius and his group were ambushed by bandits. The students were afraid, but Confucius remained calm, unpanicked. He said, "Think before you act. Keep a peaceful heart to face danger." Thanks to his calmness and wise judgment, he persuaded the bandits with sincere words, helping his group escape danger. This story is not only proof of his wisdom, but also shows the strength of inner balance. Part 2. To achieve great success, you must know how to recognize and utilize people. In life, amidst business, some choose to live nobly and uprightly, while others lose their values for immediate benefits. Confucius clearly distinguished between two types of people, the noble person and the petty person. His views are not just philosophical guidelines on behavior but profound lessons on character, helping us recognize the right path to self-improvement. The noble person, a model of integrity and self-respect. Confucius taught, the noble person demands much of themselves, the petty person demands much of others. The noble person does not blame circumstances or others, but always reflects on themselves, correcting their own mistakes. They are strict with themselves, from speech to conduct, and uphold dignity. They do not seek to satisfy trivial desires, but always aim for noble values. Living as a noble person means constantly reflecting on oneself, being grateful for what one has, and cherishing achievements. They don't need others to praise them because their value is affirmed through actions and lifestyle. The petty person's selfishness and short-sighted calculations. In contrast to the noble person, the petty person lives with a mindset of demands and expectations from others. They haggle over small benefits but refuse to acknowledge their own mistakes. Confucius said, petty people collude with others, but do not harmonize. This shows that petty people easily ally to gain benefits but lack sincerity and empathy. They only care about immediate gains, ready to trample on values and trust to achieve their goals. Living this way, they not only lose respect from others, but also harm themselves. Differences in behavior. Noble people and petty people differ in how they face difficulties, success, and failure. Noble people do not complain when facing adversity. They accept and find ways to overcome with patience and wisdom. Meanwhile, petty people easily complain, look for excuses to justify their failures. Noble people do not fear loss because they know true value lies in character, not material possessions. On the contrary, petty people cling to superficial things. When lost, they feel empty, with nothing to hold on to. Thinking about benefits and morality. Confucius once said, the noble person looks far ahead, the petty person focuses only on immediate benefits. A noble person always considers consequences before acting. They don't rush after small gains while ignoring greater values in life. Some people sacrifice integrity for a bit of fame or money. Confucius advises that unjust gains only bring long-term destruction. A noble person understands that only by acting rightly and upholding morality can one achieve lasting results. Harmony without conformity, conformity without harmony. Confucius said, the noble person can harmonize with others, but does not lose their individual values. They do not easily compromise on unethical matters, even if it brings temporary benefits. Petty people, on the other hand, easily collude to achieve goals, regardless of right or wrong. The noble person chooses their own difficult path, which always leads to good outcomes. They don't blindly follow the crowd, but stand firm in their principles, even when facing loneliness. Treat others with compassion. The noble person not only cares for themselves, but also thinks of others. They help without calculating or scheming. They don't exploit or harm others to satisfy themselves. Conversely, petty people often act only when they seek clear benefits. This comparison shows that the noble person's character lies not only in wisdom, but also in compassion and spreading positive values to the community. Confucius's life is the clearest testament to what he taught. One story tells that when serving as an official in the state of Lu, Confucius noticed local officials often abused their power for personal gain and oppressed the common people. He didn't choose to collude to protect himself, but strongly condemned and resolutely reformed. Despite strong opposition, he once said, "If you use someone, don't doubt them. If you doubt them, don't use them." He always chose capable and virtuous people for tasks, not favoring the incompetent due to personal ties. When he realized the political environment was no longer suitable for achieving his ideals, Confucius willingly resigned, leaving his position to preserve his honor and dignity. Though he lived a wandering life, he never complained. Instead, he used the time to teach knowledge and spread his life philosophy everywhere. This steadfastness and integrity helped him become a model of the noble person, leaving a shining example for future generations to follow. Part 3. Perseverance, the root of true success. Life is a journey that constantly moves forward, and each of us yearns to reach success. But success is not simply the accumulation of wealth or power. It is the process of self-improvement day by day. Confucius, with his profound philosophies, guided us on how to achieve true success, not just conquering the external world, but also overcoming ourselves. Speed doesn't matter. Perseverance does. It doesn't matter how slow you go, as long as you don't stop. Success is not a distant destination, but steady progress day by day. Confucius reminded us that in the journey of self-development, there's no need to rush, but we must never stop trying. As long as you take one small step forward each day, you're getting closer to your goal. Patience and persistence are the keys to unlocking the door to success, overcoming all challenges in life. Adjust actions, not goals. When it's clear that certain goals cannot be achieved, don't adjust the goals, but adjust each step of action. Confucius taught that righteous goals are always the guiding light for our journey. Instead of giving up when facing difficulties, learn to flexibly change strategies. Adjust yourself to adapt to circumstances. Every step in the right direction, even if slow, has meaning and brings you closer to your dreams. Choose the right work to love. Choose work you love, and you'll never work a day in your life. True success lies not only in achieving goals, but also in the joy of living with passion. But person working with a passionate heart not only achieves high results, but also spreads positive energy to those around them. When you love your work, every day becomes a joy, and success naturally comes as a worthy reward. Face difficulties, never stop striving. In life, don't wish for no difficulties, because without difficulties, aspirations won't strengthen. Life is never easy, but difficulties are tests to hone resilience and willpower. Confucius encourages us not to avoid challenges, but to face them with strength and confidence in ourselves. Through each challenge overcome, you not only grow but also discover your true strength. Learn to improve yourself. Study widely, inquire accurately, reflect carefully, discriminate clearly, practice thoroughly. Success doesn't come from talent alone, but is the result of continuous learning. Confucius emphasized that knowledge is the foundation for self-development and building a good life. Successful people know how to listen, ask questions, and always seek answers to improve themselves. Learning isn't just through books, but also through life, from those around us, and from our own mistakes. Don't let small benefits obstruct big visions. Focusing on small advantages will hinder the completion of great tasks. Confucius taught that to achieve big goals, sometimes we need to know how to give up small things. Wise people never get caught up in immediate gains and forget long-term value. True success isn't about accumulating bit by bit to build, but having a long-term vision and daring to sacrifice when necessary to achieve something greater. Self-discipline to become better. Precious stones cannot be polished without friction. People cannot improve without going through training. We must face failures, pain, and even doubts from others. But these experiences are the refining process that makes us stronger, mature, and sharper. Success only comes to those who dare to face challenges and never stop striving to surpass their limits. The story of Confucius's journey to find a wise ruler is vivid proof of the philosophies he taught. For over 40 years, Confucius traveled across various feudal states, hoping to find a ruler with both heart and talent to implement social reform ideals. Despite countless difficulties, rejections, and even disdain, Confucius never gave up. He persisted in his goal, but also knew how to flexibly adjust his actions when he saw the timing wasn't right. Finally, when he couldn't find a wise ruler, he returned to the state of Lu, dedicating his time to compiling the 5 classics, creating an important knowledge foundation for future generations. This action not only demonstrated perseverance but also showed Confucius's wisdom in adjusting actions to fit circumstances. Part 4. Filial piety, the source of morality. In life, there is a value that Confucius always upheld, considering it the solid foundation for building character and human morality. That is filial piety. To him, filial piety is not just a moral quality, but the cornerstone of all other values in life. Without filial piety, people easily stray from righteousness, losing respect and love. Confucius once affirmed, filial piety is the root of morality. Filial piety stems from respect for parents. Filial piety is not merely caring for parents materially, but more importantly, respect and reverence for one's creators. Confucius said, "Is it enough to provide for parents? Even dogs and horses can be cared for. Without respect, how are they different?" It's an attitude of valuing what parents have given, understanding their feelings, and always prioritizing parents in life. When we respect our parents, we know how to behave properly, not doing anything to make them sad or worried. Filial piety is care in every small action. Confucius taught, when parents are alive, do not travel far. If you must travel, always inform them. Filial piety is not just in grand gestures, but also in small actions, like a greeting or a call to let parents know you're safe and well. These simple acts are the threads that bind family affection, helping parents feel loved and cared for by their children. Filial piety is accompanying parents through every stage of life. Filial piety is not just caring for parents when they are young and healthy, but also accompanying and sharing with them in old age. Confucius emphasized that when parents grow old and frail, children need patience and should not show exhaustion or irritation. Even if parents' viewpoints sometimes differ, children should maintain a gentle, respectful attitude. Every word and action of parents comes from their best intentions for their children. Such patience and respect are ways children express filial piety and fulfill their duties. Filial piety is the foundation for other noble values. Confucius believed that filial piety is not just a duty but the root of all humanitarian values. He taught that a filial person can easily develop other virtues like benevolence, righteousness, and honesty. A person who knows how to love and respect their parents will know how to treat others properly, from family to community. Thus, filial piety is not just personal, but also contributes to building a harmonious and better society. Confucius emphasized that to teach children to become good people, parents must set an example by practicing filial piety. When children see their parents loving and respecting grandparents, they naturally learn how to live with filial piety. This is the deepest form of education, requiring no words or coercion but coming from real actions and examples. Teaching filial piety, the responsibility of families and society. Teaching filial piety is not just the responsibility of each family, but also an important task of society, helping to sustain good values through generations. In his life, Confucius not only taught about filial piety, but also was a filial son to his mother. When young, after his father passed away early, Confucius single and cared for his aging mother. Despite financial hardship, he never stopped studying and working to give his mother a better life. Once, when his mother fell seriously ill, Confucius abandoned all work, staying by her bedside day and night. He often said, as long as parents are alive, children cannot neglect their responsibilities, not even for a moment. When his mother passed away, Confucius conducted the funeral according to Confucian rituals, showing deep respect and gratitude to his creators. He not only set an example for his students, but also spread the value of filial piety everywhere. A Confucius, filial piety is not a responsibility but a source of pride, a way to repay the immense efforts of parents. His teachings on filial piety are guiding principles for us to live meaningfully as humans. Filial piety is not just morality but the highest expression of gratitude and love. Living with filial piety fulfills duties to parents and helps each person refine their character, building a full and meaningful life. In the fast pace of modern life, no matter how busy you are, remember that filial piety is the most precious gift you can give your parents, the source of all happiness in life. Part 5. Benevolence, the core of moral values. Among all the moral values upheld by Confucius, benevolence stands as the cornerstone for building a meaningful life and a harmonious society. He once said, "Benevolence is the highest virtue of humanity." Benevolence is not merely about loving others. It also encompasses the ability to empathize, understand, and act selflessly for the benefit of others without expecting anything in return. This value bridges gaps between individuals, fostering unity and compassion while overcoming selfishness and jealousy. Benevolence in human relationships. Benevolence begins with how we treat others in our daily interactions. Confucius taught, "Do not impose on others what you do not wish for yourself." This principle serves as the foundation for maintaining harmony and respect in relationships. By putting ourselves in others' shoes, we avoid hurtful words or actions that could damage bonds. Benevolence is not just expressed through kind words, but through sincere actions that prioritize the well-being of others over personal gain. Even small gestures, a comforting word, a helping hand can profoundly impact someone's life. Benevolence in the community. Confucius emphasized that benevolence should extend beyond personal relationships to encompass the broader community. He taught, "The noble person demands much of themselves. The petty person demands much of others." Truly benevolent individual takes responsibility for their actions, refrains from blaming others, and willingly shares resources to help those in need. When everyone practices benevolence and considers the common good, society becomes more harmonious and stable. Acts such as volunteering, protecting the environment, or supporting neighbors in times of difficulty are practical expressions of benevolence. Benevolence starts in the family. The family is the first place where individuals learn to love and practice benevolence. Confucius believed that filial piety, the respect and care for one's parents, is the root of morality. When children grow up seeing their parents show kindness and respect to elders, they naturally adopt these values. Benevolence within the family creates a strong support system, offering warmth and security. From this foundation, benevolence radiates outward, strengthening societal ties and fostering beautiful, lasting relationships. Benevolence builds a better society. Confucius envisioned an ideal society built on the foundation of benevolence. Many conflicts, disputes, and injustices arise because people lack compassion and empathy. When individuals prioritize personal interests over communal welfare, society becomes unstable. Benevolence resolves conflicts by bridging understanding among diverse groups, breaking down barriers of status, ethnicity, or religion. When everyone thinks of others, offers help, and collaborates, society thrives in harmony and progress. Practicing benevolence in daily life. Benevolence does not require grand gestures. It starts with small, everyday actions. It is smiling at a stranger, offering encouragement to a colleague, or lending a hand to someone in need can brighten someone's day. Confucius reminded us, everything has beauty, but not everyone sees it. Living with benevolence allows us to notice the beauty in every moment and inspires us to become better versions of ourselves. The poignant story illustrates Confucius's commitment to benevolence. Once, while traveling through a poor village, he encountered hungry children playing in the dirt. Instead of simply feeling pity, Confucius stepped out of his carriage, inquired about each family's situation, and shared his limited food supplies. When asked why, he replied, "I do this not for gratitude, but so my heart doesn't take seeing their suffering." His actions demonstrated that benevolence is not empty words, but sincere deeds. Confucius lived what he preached, spreading benevolence wherever he went. Benevolence, as Confucius taught, is not just the foundation of morality, but also the path to true peace and happiness. When everyone embraces benevolence, life becomes richer and more meaningful. Together, we contribute to building a peaceful world where cooperation and good will flourish. Yet benevolence not remain an ideal, but become a daily practice, making life warmer and brighter. Part 6. Trustworthiness, the core of success. Trustworthiness has long been regarded as the bedrock of all relationships in society. For Confucius, trustworthiness was not merely about keeping promises, it represented the pinnacle of morality and human dignity. He famously stated, "A person without trustworthiness cannot accomplish anything." Trustworthiness is not just a personal attribute. It forms the basis for strong families, cohesive communities, and thriving societies. In Confucius's philosophy, trustworthiness is an immutable principle essential for creating harmony and stability in life. The meaning of trustworthiness in life. Trustworthiness means being honest and reliable in both words and actions. It reflects a commitment that individuals make voluntarily to uphold their honor and integrity. The trustworthy person earns the respect and admiration of others because they bring reliability and peace to every relationship. Confucius stressed that trustworthiness is not merely a tool for achieving success but a measure of one's character. Trustworthiness in relationships. Confucius believed that trustworthiness is crucial for nurturing and sustaining relationships. Within families, trustworthiness manifests when children keep promises to their parents or when parents fulfill commitments to their children. In friendships, trustworthiness builds trust and ensures longevity. True friends always honor their promises, avoiding exploitation or deceit. In professional settings, trustworthiness lays the groundwork for long-term partnerships, enhancing credibility and collaboration. 8. The harm of losing trustworthiness. Confucius warned, "A person who loses trustworthiness cannot achieve great things." Losing trustworthiness damages not only one's reputation but also breaks valuable connections. Those who frequently break promises lose the trust of friends, family, colleagues, and even society at large. This leads to isolation, missed opportunities, and diminished self-worth. Building a life on weak foundations of dishonesty is akin to constructing a house on sand, and it will inevitably collapse. Trustworthiness in work and society. In the workplace, trustworthiness is indispensable for sustainable success. A trustworthy individual consistently meets deadlines, acts honestly, and takes responsibility for their words. Such behavior earns them respect from peers and superiors, opening doors for career advancement. At a societal level, trustworthiness strengthens bonds between people. When everyone acts with integrity, society becomes more harmonious, stable, and dependable. Cultivating trustworthiness in daily life. Trustworthiness is not an abstract concept. It begins with small, intentional actions. Being punctual for appointments, fulfilling promises, or simply following through on commitments to loved ones are practical ways to cultivate trustworthiness. Confucius advised, words must match actions. A trustworthy person does not merely speak, but follows through with action. Their deeds serve as proof of their character. A trustworthiness tied to morality and character. Confucius emphasized that trustworthiness is deeply intertwined with morality and character. trustworthy person prioritizes the collective good over personal interests, never resorting to deceit or manipulation to achieve goals. They live authentically, resisting the lure of short-term gains that might tarnish their honor. This worthiness fosters responsibility and creates harmony in all relationships. Throughout his life, Confucius exemplified trustworthiness in both words and actions. One notable story recounts how, as a young man, he promised to teach a poor friend how to read. On the appointed day, he received a lucrative job offer, but chose to honor his promise instead. Confucius visited his friend's home to teach, valuing honesty over material gain. This act underscored the importance of trustworthiness as a guiding principle. On another occasion, while serving as an official in the state of Lu, Confucius pledged to reform the tax system within 3 months. Despite opposition from other officials, he fulfilled his promise, earning the people's admiration. Though it cost him favor among certain elites, Confucius remained steadfast, believing that trustworthiness was not just a duty, but a reflection of one's dignity. Trustworthiness, as Confucius taught, is the foundation for a meaningful life. It refines character and sustains relationships, ensuring a legacy of integrity. In today's fast-paced world, trustworthiness is more vital than ever. Each person must preserve and nurture this value daily, aligning their actions with their principles to build a compassionate and trustworthy society. Let trustworthiness guide every decision, enriching life with purpose and sustainability. The teachings of Confucius transcend time and culture, offering timeless wisdom applicable to any era. From filial piety and noble character to balance and self-development, his philosophies provide a roadmap for living a meaningful and harmonious life. Through each teaching, Confucius reminds us that success, character, and happiness stem not from distant aspirations, but from how we treat ourselves, our families, and our communities. In a turbulent world, Confucius's insights resonate more powerfully than ever. He teaches patience during hardships, calmness amidst conflict, and perseverance on the journey of self-improvement. At the same time, he emphasizes the core value of family, reminding us that all virtues flow from filial piety and respect for parents. Without cherishing familial bonds, other pursuits lose their significance. Confucius's philosophy is not confined to words. He embodied these values throughout his life. His treatment of family, friends, and society reflects a life marked by success and meaning. Let his teachings inspire us to live fully, turning contemplation into action and striving toward a life worth living. Together, let us carry forward these profound lessons, transforming ancient wisdom into modern practice for the betterment of humanity.
All right, get ready, because today we're going deep into the wisdom of Confucius.
Okay.
You send in these excerpts from Confucius, Ancient Wisdom for the Modern World.
Yeah.
And honestly, just looking it over, I'm kind of struck by how much his ideas still resonate, even though they're, over 2,500 years old?
It is remarkable, isn't it?
Yeah.
How these principles still hold true. Technology changes, societies evolve.
Right.
But human nature
and
those challenges we all face, well, those haven't changed nearly as much.
Not at all. Okay, so your source material is really cool. It's like it breaks down Confucius's teaching into 6 key parts, almost like a blueprint, for navigating life, balancing your inner self, recognizing and utilizing people, perseverance, filial piety, benevolence, and trustworthiness.
It's a framework that, if applied, can really guide us.
Oh, yeah.
Towards becoming what Confucius termed a noble person.
That's what I find so fascinating about this deep dive. We're not just passively understanding these concepts, but seeing how they actually can actively shape our lives, right?
Precisely. It's about taking these ancient ideas and applying them to our modern lives.
Exactly.
So let's start, shall we, with part 1, balancing your inner self.
Okay.
One of the quotes that really stood out to me from the text is, whenever anger arises, think about the consequences. It's such a simple but potent idea, especially in today's world where everything feels so fast-paced, so reaction-driven.
Yeah.
We're bombarded with information.
Oh, yeah.
Expected to have instant opinions on everything.
Oh, it's like we've lost the ability to, pause before we hit send, Or just react impulsively.
Exactly. And Confucius understood the importance of emotional intelligence long before it became a modern buzzword.
Right.
He knew that letting anger control your actions, well, that leads to hasty decisions.
Oh, yeah.
Strained relationships. Ultimately, more suffering for everyone involved.
But how do we actually apply this, right?
Yeah.
It's easy to say, think about the consequences.
Right.
But what did Confucius actually do?
Well, the text shares this really interesting story. Confucius and his students were ambushed by bandits while they were traveling.
Oh, wow.
And his students, of course, were terrified.
Yeah.
But Confucius, he remained remarkably calm. And here's the fascinating part. He didn't just suppress his fear.
Right.
He used his reason, his composure,
right,
to negotiate with the bandits. He actually persuaded them to let the group go unharmed.
Wow, that's incredible. It really shows the power of emotional intelligence, especially in a high-pressure situation.
Yes.
Would you say that applies to just everyday situations too? Let's say you're facing a conflict at work or even just a disagreement with a family member.
Absolutely. It's the same principle at play. If we take a moment, even just a brief pause to assess the situation, to consider the potential consequences of our reactions, we can often choose a path. Right.
That leads to a more harmonious outcome.
Yeah.
Instead of just, escalating the conflict.
Okay. So mastering emotions is one key aspect of balancing our inner selves, right?
Mm-hmm.
What else did Confucius emphasize?
He also placed great importance on living with sincerity and passion.
Yeah.
The text quotes him as saying, wherever you go, go with all your heart.
I love that. It speaks to this human desire, I think, to find meaning and purpose. It's not just going through the motions, but really engaging with life, fully.
Exactly. And this really ties into a bigger idea that we see a lot today.
Okay.
The search for meaningful work,
Right.
living an authentic life.
Right.
Confucius believed that when we align our actions with our passions and our values, we not only find happiness for ourselves, but we inspire those around us as well.
So it's not just about what we do.
But how we do it, right? Bringing that sincerity, that passion to our work, relationships, even our hobbies, it can have a ripple effect on everyone around us.
Precisely. And that leads us to another crucial element. The idea that the greatest enemy of a person is not someone else, but themselves.
I find that so relevant today because, we are just bombarded with messages about self-improvement, personal growth.
Yes.
But it can feel so overwhelming at times.
Oh, absolutely. It's we're constantly striving for this ideal, this perfect self that's just unattainable.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's where I think Confucius offers this really valuable perspective.
Yeah.
He understood that while we do face external obstacles, a lot of the time, the biggest roadblocks to our own happiness, our own fulfillment, are those fears, the doubts, the negative self-talk.
All that stuff we grapple with, imposter syndrome, self-sabotage, perfectionism. These are battles that are happening inside us, right?
Exactly. And that's why he advocated for self-reflection and continuous learning as a way to overcome those internal barriers. He didn't offer quick fixes, but he encouraged a lifelong journey of self-cultivation and growth.
So it's not just about silencing those negative voices. It's about understanding where they come from, right?
Yes.
And developing those tools to navigate them more effectively.
Exactly. It's about recognizing the patterns.
Yeah.
And actively choosing to engage with them in a way that promotes growth and self-compassion.
So this first part, it sounds like, becoming a noble person. It's about laying that strong foundation within ourselves.
Yes.
We work on mastering our emotions. We find and pursue our passions, and we confront those inner critics that can really hold us back.
You've captured it perfectly. It's about cultivating inner strength and balance before we move outward to engage with the world.
Okay, so before we move on to the next part, is there anything from this section about balancing our inner selves that really stood out to you?
What really strikes me is that Confucius emphasized personal responsibility as a key to inner peace.
Right.
It's not about blaming external circumstances or other people for our unhappiness.
Right.
It's about focusing on what we can control, our thoughts, emotions, and actions.
It's a powerful message.
It is.
It makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
So for our listeners out there, what's resonating with you so far? What insights or questions are coming up for you as we explore this first layer of Confucian wisdom?
All right, so we've gone pretty deep into balancing our inner selves, but we're not isolated beings, right?
Right.
Social creatures.
Absolutely.
So that brings us to part 2, recognizing and utilizing people.
Yes.
I'm intrigued, but I gotta say, I'm also a little apprehensive about this section.
Oh, why is that? Well, because it talks about these two contrasting archetypes, right? The noble person and the petty person. And those labels, I don't know, they feel a little loaded. You know what I mean?
I understand your hesitation. It is important to remember that Confucius wasn't trying to put people into these rigid categories or judge anyone.
Okay.
He was really highlighting these patterns of behavior, you know,
Right.
and the impact they have on our lives and those around us. So think of it less as like labeling people and more as understanding these different approaches to life's challenges.
Okay, that makes me feel a little bit better.
Yeah.
So how did Confucius differentiate between these two? Like, what were some of the key distinctions?
Well, one of the most insightful contrasts is how they approach setbacks and failures.
Okay.
A noble person, according to Confucius, sees failure not as a defeat, but as an opportunity, a chance for growth and learning. They take responsibility for their actions, they analyze what went wrong, and they seek ways to improve. A petty person, on the other hand, they tend to blame others, make excuses, avoid taking ownership.
It's like that quote, a noble person looks for the fault within themselves. A petty person looks for the fault in others. But doesn't that suggest that we should just like wallow in self-blame when things go wrong?
Not at all. It's not about dwelling in guilt or shame. It's about honestly assessing our role in a situation.
Right.
And identifying areas where we can learn and do better. It's taking responsibility, but without losing sight of self-compassion.
So it's acknowledging mistakes and then learning from them and using that to, move forward in a more positive way.
Exactly. And this attitude extends to how they handle success, too.
Well, okay.
A noble person, their validation comes from within. They're driven by a desire to contribute, to make a positive impact. A petty person, well, they might become boastful and arrogant, always seeking validation and material rewards.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it, if social media has amplified that tendency towards seeking external validation. You're constantly bombarded with images of other people's seemingly perfect lives, which can make it so easy to compare yourself and just feel inadequate.
That's a great point. I mean, Confucius couldn't have predicted the rise of social media, right?
Right.
But his insights about human nature, well, they're incredibly relevant, even today.
Yeah.
He understood that true fulfillment comes from living in alignment with our values.
Right.
Not from chasing external approval.
So it's about focusing on our own path.
Yes.
On becoming the best version of ourselves rather than getting caught up in that endless cycle of comparison and competition.
Precisely. And this brings us to another fascinating distinction, how each archetype approaches relationships. Confucius believed that a noble person, they value harmony,
Okay.
but without conformity. They maintain strong relationships without compromising their principles or values.
That is so important, especially now when there's so much pressure to fit in and conform to all these societal expectations. But how do we reconcile that? That need for authenticity with wanting harmony in our relationships?
It's a question we all grapple with, isn't it? It's this delicate balance. Confucius believed that true harmony, well, it comes from mutual respect and understanding, not just from agreeing with everyone or suppressing our beliefs to avoid conflict.
So it's not about being a doormat or pretending to agree when you don't.
Yeah.
It's about having respectful dialogue, listening to different perspectives, and finding that common ground without losing yourself.
Exactly. And this requires emotional maturity and self-awareness. We need to know our own values, right? And be able to articulate them while also being open to hearing different viewpoints.
It sounds like a lot of open communication, maybe even some difficult conversations sometimes.
It does. And this is where that contrast with a petty person becomes even clearer. They prioritize their own self-interest above everything else. And they might resort to manipulation or flattery, even deceit, to get what they want.
So it's not just about avoiding those behaviors ourselves. It's also about, recognizing them in others so that we can protect ourselves and just make better choices about who we let into our lives.
Precisely. It's developing that discernment.
Yeah.
Being able to see beyond superficial charm or persuasive tactics. And remember, none of us are perfect. We all have moments where we might act from a place of pettiness
Right.
rather than nobility. The key is to be aware of those tendencies in ourselves and strive to make those choices that align with our values and contribute to greater harmony.
So recognizing these archetypes, it's less about judging people and more about understanding these different approaches and using that knowledge to make more conscious choices.
Exactly. It's about recognizing we all have the capacity for both.
Yeah.
The nobility and the pettiness, and striving to cultivate those qualities that lead to greater fulfillment for ourselves and the world around us.
That idea of recognizing patterns, it reminds me of another insight from this section. The noble person looks far ahead. The petty person focuses only on immediate benefits.
Ah, yes. That's such a great observation. Confucius was really emphasizing the importance of long-term thinking,
Right.
of considering the consequences of our actions beyond just the immediate gratification.
Isn't that a struggle, though, for a lot of us, especially today with, instant gratification and short attention spans? I mean,
Right.
buy now, consume now, get results now. It can be hard to resist,
It really can. But Confucius, he reminds us that true success in our personal lives, in our work, it requires patience, discipline, a willingness to delay gratification. It's playing the long game.
Right.
Investing in things that will yield lasting rewards.
So it's not about denying yourself pleasure or joy in the present, right?
No.
But making those choices that align with our long-term goals,
Exactly.
even when they require effort and patience.
It's about cultivating that inner strength, that wisdom to make choices that truly serve us, even when faced with temptations that offer those quick but fleeting rewards.
So a lot to think about. But I'm already seeing how those distinctions, noble person, petty person, can give us some real insights into our own behavior and motivations.
That's the beauty of Confucius's teachings.
Yeah.
They're timeless. They speak to the core of the human experience.
It's like we're holding up a mirror to ourselves, isn't it?
Yes.
And we can see those tendencies, both the good and the bad, and we're challenged to make choices that reflect the best versions of ourselves. So for you listening, what are your thoughts on this idea of the noble person versus the petty person? What's resonating with you? What's challenging you?
Okay, so we've covered balancing our inner selves and then navigating those tricky relationships. But there's another piece of this Confucian roadmap that I think we need to look at. Perseverance.
And this one really hits home for me. I'm all about setting goals, striving for growth. But sometimes that path to those goals, that feels more like a winding maze than a straight line.
You've touched on something that's so universal, The journey towards any meaningful goal, it's rarely straightforward.
Yeah.
It has its twists and turns and definitely unexpected obstacles.
Yeah.
And that's precisely why Confucius placed such emphasis on perseverance as a virtue. He understood that setbacks, even failures, they're just inevitable parts of any worthy pursuit.
There's that quote from the text, it doesn't matter how slow you go as long as you don't stop. And that feels so relevant, especially today when everything's instant gratification,
Yes.
Overnight success, it's easy to get discouraged when things are moving slowly or it feels like you're not making progress.
Absolutely. That constant pressure to achieve results immediately can be incredibly demoralizing.
Yeah.
But Confucius had a different approach, one rooted in patience, consistency, understanding that true success, it's a process.
Right. It unfolds over time. It's not about sprinting to the finish line. It's about showing up consistently day after day,
Right.
even when you don't see those results right away.
It makes you think about those stories of successful people,
Yeah.
athletes, artists, entrepreneurs, anyone who's achieved a significant goal behind those accomplishments. There are years of dedicated effort, countless hours of practice,
Yeah.
and a lot of setbacks and failures along the way.
Exactly. It's that unwavering commitment to the process, that willingness to keep going even when it's hard, that often separates those who achieve lasting success from those who, they give up at the first hurdle.
It's not about some innate talent or some stroke of luck. It's that grit, that drive to keep pushing forward.
Exactly. And that leads us to another concept from the text, adjust actions, not goals. It's acknowledging that we will encounter obstacles,
Yeah.
but those obstacles, they don't have to derail us completely.
So it's not about lowering our standards or just, settling.
Yeah, not at all.
It's about being adaptable,
Yes.
finding creative solutions, and adjusting our approach while keeping that ultimate goal in mind.
You got it. Embracing flexibility, resourcefulness, those are essential companions on the journey to any meaningful goal.
This reminds me of something we were talking about earlier, mastering our emotions. Perseverance. It also requires a certain amount of emotional resilience.
Absolutely.
You need to be able to deal with frustration, doubt, even despair.
Yes. You can't have perseverance without the ability to manage those emotional ups and downs that come with any challenge.
Okay, so we've covered balancing our inner selves, navigating relationships, and now persevering through challenges. What's next on this Confucian roadmap?
Now we've delved into a principle that's a bit more traditional,
Okay.
but one that's incredibly important for building a strong moral foundation: filial piety.
I have to admit, when I first heard about this concept, I wasn't sure how it fit in, Like, how does respecting your parents, while important, connect to these bigger moral principles?
That's a fair question. Confucius viewed filial piety as more than just obedience to parents.
Yeah.
It was the foundation upon which all other virtues are built. He believed that by cultivating respect, gratitude, and care for those who raised us, we develop those essential qualities.
Like what?
Empathy, compassion, responsibility,
Right.
which then extend to all our interactions with others.
So it's like developing those moral muscles
Yes.
within the family,
Right.
which then makes us better able to engage ethically with the wider world.
Exactly, like building a strong foundation for a house. If that foundation is weak,
Yeah.
the whole structure becomes unstable.
And the text emphasizes that it's not just about material needs, but also about understanding our parents' perspective. Even when we disagree with them, that can be challenging.
It can, but that's where the real growth happens. It's learning to see the world through different lenses, appreciate diverse viewpoints, find compassion even when you disagree.
It sounds like filial piety, as Confucius meant it, requires a lot of emotional intelligence, maturity.
It does. It's not about blindly obeying. It's about understanding and appreciating those who came before us, even as we create our own paths.
Okay, so we've got inner balance, navigating relationships, persevering through challenges, and building a strong moral foundation. What's the final piece of this Confucian puzzle?
The final principle, and maybe the most well-known of Confucius's teachings, is benevolence.
Okay.
It's the culmination of all the other principles, the outward expression of a life lived with virtue.
And that's where we get the golden rule, right?
Yes.
Do not impose on others what you do not wish for yourself. Such a simple idea, but so powerful.
It's a principle that goes beyond cultures and time. It speaks to something fundamental about human interaction.
Yeah.
Confucius believed this should guide all our actions, from the smallest things to the biggest life decisions.
So it's about recognizing our shared humanity.
Yes.
Putting yourself in someone else's shoes, treating everyone with respect, kindness, consideration, no matter who they are or what they believe.
Exactly, and it's not just about those grand acts of altruism.
Right.
It's the everyday kindnesses, the way we treat each other, the small choices we make.
It's cultivating a spirit of generosity.
Beautifully put. And that brings us to the last principle that underpins everything we've discussed. Trustworthiness.
The text has this quote from Confucius: "A person without trustworthiness cannot accomplish anything." That's a strong statement. Why was trustworthiness so important to him?
For Confucius, trustworthiness was more than just keeping promises.
Okay.
It was about living with integrity, aligning our actions with our words, being true to our values. He saw trustworthiness as the bedrock of all relationships and endeavors.
Because without trust, how can we connect? How can we collaborate?
Right.
How can we build anything meaningful?
Exactly. Trust is the glue that holds societies together, enables us to work toward shared goals, create a more harmonious world. And while it might seem like a simple idea, cultivating genuine trustworthiness, well, it takes effort and self-reflection.
It's about being accountable for what we do, honest with ourselves and others,
Yes.
and making choices that reflect our values, even when it's hard.
You've summed it up perfectly. It's about living with intention, striving to be our best selves, contributing to a world where trust and integrity aren't just ideas,
Right?
they're lived realities.
Wow, that was a lot to take in. We explored so much of Confucius's wisdom today.
We did.
From finding that inner balance to navigating relationships, persevering through challenges, building a strong moral foundation, and living a life guided by benevolence and trustworthiness.
It's been a fascinating journey.
It has.
And even though these teachings are centuries old, they offer these timeless insights that are just as relevant now as they were back then.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what resonated most with you? What sparked your curiosity? What challenged you? And how might you incorporate these ancient wisdom teachings into your own life, starting today?
Remember, the journey of self-cultivation is ongoing. It's about those small steps each day, striving to live by these virtues, creating a life of meaning, purpose, and connection.
Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into the wisdom of Confucius. We hope you found it insightful and inspiring.